Hello, and welcome to Replay Value. So people are upset about the most recent Darling in the Franxx developments. Fortunately not episode 14 lets harass the production staff level, but more in a disappointed way. And honestly, I recognize and feel that frustration. My immediate reaction after episode 20 was, of fucking course, it wouldn't be Trigger if we didn't blow something up to space. I think more or less everyone predicted that Ape would be the bad guys in the end, but probably not in the way that they turned out to be. I'm not here to attack or defend episode 19 and 20. I'm pretty ambivalent about the whole thing right now because in my opinion how they wrap up the show in the next 4 episodes is far more important. But I do want to give a reason or line of thinking to support why the decisions made in the last 2 episodes were done so, and unsurprisingly, it comes down to theming. Darling in the Franxx started off with its primary theme being about partnerships, talking about how people act in them, how they function in groups, what they give their components, how they act as a sum total, and plenty more. Almost every action and decision from a narrative standpoint was built up to interact with that in some way, with the focus being on Hero and Zero Two's partnership, which we've talked about a lot in the past, so go crazy with my older videos on the subject if you so desire. Episode 15 was our explosive mid-season finale, and effectively, though we really only know this through hindsight, ended having decided that partnership was no longer the primary theme. Partnerships were deprioritized into a secondary theme, with the individual elements of the partnerships stepping into the spotlight. It's not that Darling in the Franxx brought this theme out of nowhere. It had been one of the secondary themes for practically the whole show. So instead of focusing on the relationship between Hero and Zero Two, we were now being directed to the two of them as individuals, to ask the question, what does it mean to be human? And once you have that lens, a lot of the narrative decisions since episode 16 seem pretty straightforward. You have 9 Alpha constantly telling Zero Two to stop playing human, you have Hero growing horns, these questions of what the children's purposes are. These things are all illuminating off of this concept of humanity. And just in case it wasn't obvious enough, episode 19 is titled In Humanity, where we go through the backstory of how we came to the present state of affairs, which fundamentally comes down to people giving up the core principles of what it meant to be human physically, specifically rearing children and fixed lifetimes in order to achieve immortality. Remember when Dr. Franxx is talking about how immortality could make it so that what followed might not be human? Karina says, "Do you mean we'd be gods?" in response, to which he simply says, "I'm an atheist," which I know really frustrated some people, and I don't want to comment on the construction of this episode from a quality perspective. So I'll just say that this response makes it clear that an immortal human is entirely different from anything we could conceive of. It's not godhood, it's not human, it's something else. That woman we met during Zorome's trip to the city is pretty indicative of how their existence is just so removed from what we know now. They take on semblances of human society, like living in pairs, but the purpose of it is just to match how things used to be. There's no soul there. That's what Zero Two talks about on the balcony in episode 3. Is Dr. Franxx representative of humanity? Probably not. He conducted unethical experiments, didn't care about his wife, tortured his kid, and in the present is practically half machine. Is Zero Two human? She has horns and she's half another species. Is Hero? They both think the other is human, but by that logic, the leaders of Ape are human because society as a whole viewed them as human. And of course, they're actually aliens. So is it a terrestrial thing? Because then clactosaurs are human, and while there are similar genetic markers to say that a species who have abilities and traits beyond what a classic understanding of humanity is, well, complicated. What about the other children, who presumably are genetically modified clones? The answer to this question and all of the previous ones are not obvious. And that's the whole point. It's supposed to make you think and wonder what the core traits are when considering what humanity is. To borrow slightly from Plato's theory of forms, there has to be some collection of ideas that make up what humanity actually is. And these introduction of things that are human-ish begins to force delineation as to what those ideas are. Are they purely physical or genetic? Are they mentality-driven? If so, on the part of the individuals or by others? That's why Verm exists, and the various different types of terrestrial beings, including hybrids of the two. Because the show, whether it's executing on this well or not, wants to explore that concept of humanity, and that's why the show has gone in the direction it has over the last few episodes. To the show's credit, partnerships are still important, but interestingly, they're now mostly playing as an element to the new primary theme. It's for this reason that I wouldn't be surprised if Zero, 2, and Hero don't regroup until the penultimate episode. And in that regard, I'd like to make a prediction for how this thematic question is going to be resolved. The answer to what does it mean to be human is going to be leaving something behind for the future that you're not going to be a part of. That's true for Kokoro and Mitsuru, who are going to have a child, and for Zero, too, who will wind up sacrificing herself to save the world to prove her humanity in the face of these inhuman elements. Or it could be Hero. But going off of the OP visuals, that's gotta be my prediction. I'm more than ready to be wrong, but let's just say it's impossible for Zero, 2, and Hero to have a child, which leaves us with one other answer. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and comment with your thoughts, subscribe for more analysis pieces, and follow me on Twitter for updates about future projects, link in the description. We'll be back real soon with another video, but until then, thanks for watching.